People dive underwater for various reasons, some for fun and thrill, others to discover new things. In the deepest parts of the water, you'll never know if you'll find something breathtakingly beautiful or something incredibly frightening. From a relentless sea monster to a sunken object harboring a dark secret, here are the 20 most terrifying things recently discovered underwater. Number 20. Thousands of shark fossils in Florida. It's an excellent achievement for paleontologists when they can find a massive collection of fossils buried in the sand. For some of us, though, this would be pretty creepy. Florida is known as the world's shark tooth capital because it's where many shark fossils have been found. So much so that diving for shark fossils has become a popular recreational activity for scuba divers. In fact, a large number of specimens stored in the Florida Museum were donated by amateur fossil hunters. Would you want to scuba dive in the waters of Florida to look for some shark fossils? Despite this, the fossils found in Florida hadn't been documented and examined systematically for many years. It's only recently that paleontologists published a detailed study of the chondrichthyan species found in the state. Chondrichthyans are a diverse class of fish that have cartilage skeletons, including sharks and rays. Because cartilage skeletons don't usually mineralize to produce fossils, the remains often discovered are the shark's high-calcium teeth. The remarkable study analyzed 107,698 chondrichthyan fossils from the Florida Museum collection. Researchers identified 70 species in all, with 20 of them being new species that were added to the fossil record. Many fossils belong to the extinct mackerel shark species that lived during the Eocene epoch, some 56 million to 33.9 million years ago. Number 19. Scary reality at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. In 2019, Victor Vescovo set a new record for the deepest dive by a crewed vessel, descending 10,927 meters beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean into the Mariana Trench. This event was a testament to how far marine technology had come, but it also brought troubling news because of what the team discovered on the ocean floor at the deepest point on Earth. During Victor's successful dive, he explored the bottom of Mariana Trench for 4 hours in a submersible called the DSV limiting factor. Being that far down meant that the vessel needed to withstand crushing pressure equivalent to the weight of 50 jumbo jets piled on top of each other. The submersible also needed to operate in a pitch-black and near-freezing environment. Thankfully, the vessel worked well, and Victor could explore the mysterious depths. He found many fascinating sea creatures, but he also saw something very familiar. A plastic bag and candy wrappers, evidence of plastic waste caused by humans, can be found even in the deepest parts of the Earth, even if it's challenging to reach. One can only imagine the journey that these pieces of trash had taken before they ended up so far away from human civilization. Victor and his team made a total of 5 dives for the expedition. Aside from the plastic waste, they also found 4 new species of prawn-like amphipods, a spoonworm, and a pink snailfish. They also collected rock samples from the ocean floor. Since plastic was found even in this remote region, scientists plan to test the creatures to see if they contain microplastics. Number 18. Ancient mammoth tusk. It's always unexpected to find the remains of a land animal thousands of feet underwater. You'd have to wonder how they ended up there. Did a huge predator drag it from the shallow parts of the water into the deep? Was the region once dry land and was just later submerged in water? Did the tides and currents simply carry the remnants further into the ocean? Researchers were piloting a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, deep in the ocean, off the California coast, when they came across a 3-foot-long tusk-like object. When they tried to collect it, a small piece unfortunately broke off from the tip, and this was all they were able to bring to the surface. The piece was enough for the researchers to identify the object. Surprisingly, what they found was a tusk from a female mammoth. They didn't have enough pieces to determine its age or its species, though. 2 years later, the team returned to the site to retrieve the other parts of the tusk using an ROV. They found it lying at a depth of about 10,000 feet. This time, they were able to successfully retrieve the whole object. They recovered DNA from the tusk and were able to determine many things about the mammoth, such as its species, age at death, and geographic range when it was still alive. Researchers hope to find more objects similar to the ancient tusk in future explorations. Number 17. White sperm whale, the real-life Moby Dick. In 2021, sailors aboard a Dutch oil tanker spotted a huge sea creature swimming in the water off the coast of Jamaica. The ship's captain, Leo Van Tully, captured the white creature on video as it moved near the water's surface. Experts who watched his video soon confirmed that it was a rare white sperm whale, just like the famous fictional antagonist Moby Dick. If this creature was anything like the monstrous Moby Dick, the oil tanker crew had much to fear. It's not common to see a white sperm whale. Its color is due to rare conditions such as albinism or leucism, which hinders the whale's ability to produce melanin. Melanin is the pigment responsible for giving color to skin and hair. Experts can't confirm how many white sperm whales are left on Earth or even if they really are rare. Sperm whales are generally more elusive, and they can swim at extreme depths to hide from humans. There have been several white sperm whale sightings recently. For instance, there were sightings off the Italian island of Sardinia, in Dominica, and the Azores. Number 16. Underwater Skeleton Tea Party. I think most of you would agree that finding an entire human skeleton is one of the scariest things you could find underwater. That's why a man diving in the Colorado River got the shock of his life when he found two skeletons seated on chairs and facing each other. One was even wearing sunglasses. It was like an eerie tea party scene from a horror movie. It was a terrible sight that he would probably never forget. What kind of sick person would ever do something like this? He quickly reported it to the La Paz County Sheriff's Office. Authorities went to the site to investigate, prepared to handle a potential crime scene. They soon realized, though, that the skeletons were fake. The setup was apparently a promotional stunt for a film weekend. The sheriff's office abandoned the investigation and saw the humor in the whole situation, but he also reminded the public that it was not okay to put something like fake skeletons in the river. Number 15. Regenerating sea worm. If you get creeped out by long, wriggly worms, you might be uncomfortable seeing this strange organism. This creature is actually a type of sea worm called Ramesselis kingidorahi, and its name is based on the fictional monster King Ghidorah, Godzilla's ultimate nemesis. Around 25 of these worms were discovered in Japan, where they were found resting inside underwater sea sponges. These creepy-looking sea worms have a remarkable ability similar to King Ghidorah's powers. The legendary three-headed dragon is challenging to defeat because it can regenerate its head even after it's been cut off. Similarly, the branched sea worm Ramesselis kingidorahi can regenerate its multiple posterior branches once they detach from its body. These branches, called stolons, detach for the sake of reproduction, releasing their eggs or sperm into the water. The worms, on the other hand, stay inside the sponges and grow back their branches to prepare for the next reproductive cycle. Since Ramesselis kingidorahi is a newly discovered species, little is known about it yet. However, a similar species found in northern Australia is known to have as many as 100 branching segments. Yikes! Scientists admit that studying this mysterious sea worm is quite challenging, as they often hide inside the sponges they consider their homes. It's still unclear if sponges benefit from the relationship they have with their inhabitants, or if the sea worms are actually parasitic. Number 14. Well-kept freezer of secrets. Strange and monstrous creatures, extremely hot or cold environments, creepy bones and fossils. The underwater world hides some of the most terrifying things ever known to man. Yet many divers find exploring the dark and unknown waters very exciting, and they continue doing so even if there's a chance they find something utterly horrifying. A person online once shared a creepy discovery he made 90 feet underwater off Vancouver Island, Canada. There on the ocean floor was a large deep freezer wrapped tightly in a heavy industrial chain. There were also 5 cinder blocks attached to it. It looked ancient and rusted, perhaps around 30 years old. Someone obviously wanted it to sink to the bottom of the ocean. But why? What could possibly be inside the freezer? Was it so frightening and dangerous that it had to be locked by a chain? Since the whole thing looked suspicious, the diver recorded the GPS and depth coordinates of the freezer's location and handed these over to the police. He later found out that the police were able to retrieve and open the mysterious artifact. What the freezer contained was something totally strange and unexpected. 10 porcelain dolls. Now, why would someone go through all that trouble to sink 10 porcelain dolls is anyone's guess. Were these objects cursed? Was something sinister unleashed when the freezer was opened? I sure hope this was just some horrible prank. Number 13. Ghost shark hatchling. Now, this is not something you'd want to see on any given day, except perhaps if you're a marine biologist. This is a newly hatched ghost shark, and they look just as creepy as their full-grown adult counterparts. There's just something about them that makes them look like the shark version of the Grim Reaper. This hatchling was discovered entirely by accident. New Zealand's National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research conducted a trawling survey to estimate the population of hoki, a local fish commonly used in commercial products. They let down a net about 4,000 feet, and when it was brought back up, the researchers saw that this strange little hatchling was one of the creatures caught inside. Being deep-sea animals, adult ghost sharks are extremely rare to spot, but seeing a baby ghost shark is even rarer. Aside from the fact that it looked so tiny, there was another fascinating reason why researchers knew that the creature was newly hatched. Ghost shark embryos, when they're still inside their eggs, feed on a yolk until it's time for them to hatch. When the researchers looked at this baby ghost shark closely, they saw it still had a visible yolk sac inside its translucent belly. That's how the researchers determined that it was newly hatched. Ghost sharks are not actually sharks but chimeras. These creatures are closely related to sharks and rays, and all 3 groups have skeletons made of cartilage instead of bone. Number 12. Sponges feasting on remains of extinct creatures. Marine life has shown many examples of symbiotic relationships between unlikely species. Different species of fish and invertebrates often serve as hosts for countless bacteria and microorganisms, and some of these relationships are beneficial to both parties. These sponges have been around for an incredibly long time, about 300 years, and the secret to their long lives is quite grim. These enduring creatures feast on the dead, even the remains of animals that have long been extinct. They were found resting on an underwater mountain in the central Arctic that was close to 1,750 feet underwater. There were thousands of these strange creatures covering a wide area of 5.8 square miles. Their eerie means of survival was brought about by the fact that food in these icy depths was scarce. There were no strong currents that could bring food to the sponges, nor were there hydrothermal vents that could provide heat and food for them. What they could do instead was consume dissolved compounds from the area where tube worms and bivalves died out years ago. Bacteria living in the sponges helped them digest these compounds. Their survival strategy is so effective that some of the sponges have grown up to 3 feet in diameter, and they're continuously reproducing. Scientists believe that the field of fossilized tube worms and their organic matter won't run out anytime soon, so the sponges still have plenty of time to feast on them. Number 11. Venomous spider in swimming pool. Are you afraid of spiders? Do you hate seeing spiders around your home, even if it's just a small one? Does the mere sight of cobwebs make you nervous? If you answered yes to these questions, you won't be happy to hear that several spiders have been turning up in people's swimming pools lately. And unfortunately, these are not the small ones you can easily ignore but the large, deadly ones with creepy, hairy legs. As parts of Australia were hit by heavy rain and thunderstorms, the people affected were naturally worried about the strong winds and potential flooding in their area. However, they also had to watch out for another problem: venomous spiders hiding in their pools. In New South Wales, several people have posted online about their encounters with these creatures and cautioned everyone to check their pools before jumping in. The bad weather had caused spiders to seek shelter, and some had chosen to hide in dry areas around or under pools. Some of them also accidentally fell into the water. The funnel web spider was one of the species people had found in their pools. It's a highly venomous spider that can survive underwater for over 24 hours. What's worse is it's still capable of biting even if it's in the water, and its bite, if left untreated, can be deadly. At least now we know that spiders can sometimes fall into pools, and just because they're underwater, that doesn't mean that they're totally harmless. Number 10. Weird-eyed strawberry squid. Do you like strawberries? Strawberries are quite popular depending on where you live. Strawberry is a common flavor of desserts and drinks. They're also often incorporated in the designer patterns of different merchandise such as clothes, bags, or curtains. Strawberry designs are usually meant to be cute. However, deep under the ocean, there is a creature that looks a lot like a strawberry, but I wouldn't really describe it as cute. The strawberry squid is bright red and has tiny black spots just like the fruit. It also has 8 arms and 2 tentacles. You might find this creature creepy with its huge eye and wiggly arms lined with light-colored suckers underneath. But it gets weirder. The strawberry squid actually has 2 eyes found on opposite sides of its head, but they're not of the same size. One is smaller than the other. The larger one is on the left and looks upward, while the smaller one is on the right and looks downward. This unusual feature is why the animal is sometimes called the cockeyed squid. As a young hatchling, a strawberry squid has 2 identically sized eyes. The asymmetry only develops as it gets older. By adulthood, some strawberry squids have a left eye more than twice as large as the right eye. How creepy is that? Number 9. Rare crowned jellyfish. Scientists have found a deep-sea animal resembling a scarlet flying saucer with curly tentacles. It makes you wonder if this creature could possibly have an extraterrestrial origin. Well, according to scientists, this is a new species of crowned jellyfish called Atala reynoldsi, and this creature has so many tentacles, anywhere between 26 to 39 of them. Even with all of those tentacles, the A. reynoldsi is missing one distinct feature that sets it apart from other species of crowned jellyfish. It lacks the one long thin tentacle that the other species have, the extremely long one that grows up to 6 times the central bell's diameter. It's believed to be used for snagging prey that passes through the creature's sunless habitat. Well, if you're a jellyfish expert and something that distinct is missing from a supposed crown jelly, you'd suspect that this is probably a different species. Years after it was first spotted, researchers are finally able to confidently say that it's a new species that has distinct physical and genetic features from its cousins. So far, the A. reynoldsi has only been seen in Monterey Bay at depths of 3,323 to 10,463 feet. Number 8. Mosasaur. ancient ruler of the ocean. The oceans were home to several monstrous creatures that lived millions of years ago. They were quick and fierce predators, something that you wouldn't want to encounter if they still existed today. The giant Mosasaur is called Thalassodonton atrox, which translates to merciless sea giant. It's an extinct marine reptile that once inhabited the oceans around Morocco around 66 million years ago. This was towards the end of the Cretaceous period, right before a giant asteroid crashed into Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs and several other living creatures. Before this catastrophic event, the giant Mosasaur lived in a world teeming with life. While the land had the fierce dinosaur T-Rex, the waters had the monstrous atrox. It was a ferocious predator that grew up to 30 to 33 feet long. It was the ruler of the world's oceans and one of the most greatly feared creatures of the deep. Today, its place in the marine food web would be equivalent to a killer whale or a great white shark. However, since they were marine reptiles, mosasaurs were more related to modern lizards and snakes. Atrox developed a broad muzzle with a strong bite force and short cone-shaped, killer whale-like teeth that could bite into large prey. The teeth fossils found by researchers were often chipped or worn down, indicating that they were often used to inflict significant damage on their prey or their enemies. Number 7. A zone full of sharks. Films and stories about deadly sharks have made many afraid of encountering one in the water. You might be horrified to hear that researchers recently discovered a region in the Indian Ocean that is filled with hungry sharks. This discovery was made by researchers on a submarine named Omega Seamaster 2. Around 1,640 feet below the surface, they found a previously unknown ecosystem near the Maldives seamount Seaw Raha. The region was filled with micronecton, tiny sea creatures measuring 0.8 to 7.8 inches long. On their own, nothing was terrifying about them. However, their large numbers attracted different species of predators, including swarms of sharks. The terrain in that particular region wasn't an ideal hiding place for the micronecton, and the onslaught of predators such as schools of tuna, spiky Oreos, alfonsinos, and sharks gave them limited space to escape. The researchers therefore called the region the trapping zone. Some of the species of sharks they found were spotted tiger sharks, six-gill sharks, sand tiger sharks, dogfish, rarely seen bramble sharks, and many more. It was the first time the researchers ever saw such a diverse group of sharks hunting together in the deep sea. I just really hope I never end up in the trapping zone. Number 6. Fish stores eggs inside its mouth. Researchers from Central Michigan University discovered something horrific while observing female cichlids in their lab. Female freshwater cichlids are mouth-brooding fish, meaning that they carry their young in their mouths for their protection. They do this for their eggs and even for their young hatchling. Did you know that they can hold up to 100 eggs at a time? Amazing, isn't it? I admit though, seeing them hide their eggs in their mouths can be quite freaky. While the mother is taking care of her young and keeping them protected in this manner, she actually has to make a big sacrifice. During this time, she is unfortunately unable to eat, and I can just imagine how uncomfortable it would be for her to hold so many eggs or hatchlings in her mouth like that. It's definitely heartwarming to know that the cichlids are willing to make these sacrifices for their young. However, conditions aren't always ideal in real life, and the cichlid's nurturing instinct can quickly take a turn when mouth-brooding starts to threaten her survival. Researchers were observing a mouth-brooding cichlid in the lab when they noticed that she was carrying significantly fewer eggs in her mouth than before. The other eggs were nowhere to be found, and that's when they had a daunting realization. The mother had eaten some of her eggs. Scientists explained that this phenomenon is quite common in many animal species. This is done so that the mother can regain her calories after a tiring childbirth and during the stressful period of mouth-brooding. As an act of survival, she has to sacrifice some of her eggs in order to continue living and protecting the rest of her offspring. This behavior is quite logical and understandable, but the thought is still chilling nonetheless. Number 5. Octopus hurls projectiles. Octopuses have long intrigued scientists and marine enthusiasts because of their intelligence, dexterity, and elusive nature. As members of the cephalopod family, they possess unique features such as their flexible bodies, tentacles adorned with suckers, and the remarkable ability to change color and texture to camouflage in their surroundings. With roughly 300 known species inhabiting the ocean today, octopuses are diligently studied by scientists so that they can learn more about their unique behavior in the deep. In Jervis Bay near New South Wales, scientists captured 24 hours of footage using stationary underwater cameras. After reviewing some of the footage, scientists observed one intriguing octopus behavior that they had never seen before. The octopuses hurled debris like sand and shells all over the place. These projectiles were thrown as far as several body lengths away by a jet of water under their tentacle. The creatures exhibited this behavior during interactions with other octopuses, fish, or stationary cameras. In turn, the target octopuses ducked, tried to get away, or changed their direction to stay out of the line of fire, meaning they probably knew they were being deliberately targeted. This throwing behavior showed that octopuses intentionally aimed at other animals of their kind. Their movements while interacting with fellow octopuses differ from when protecting themselves from other organisms. One particular occasion was observed when a female octopus flung debris at a male as he was trying to mate with her. As solitary creatures, they also probably wanted to repel others from their territory so that nearby resources remained adequate for their needs. This behavior shows that the octopuses are even more intellectually and socially complex than scientists once thought, as they've developed a strategy to manage interactions with their octopus neighbors. Number 4. Bones and Madagascar's underwater graveyard. Underneath Simonampat-Satsa National Park are 3 mysterious caves submerged in deep water, the Malazamanga, Avon, and Matoho caves. When Australian diver Ryan Dart first visited the flooded caves, he felt that there was something special about them and that it was worth exploring them even further. He shared what he saw with fellow diver Philip Lehman, and soon the idea spread to other organizations that funded and supported a formal paleontological investigation. The team was formed, and they explored the 3 flooded caves, unsure if they would find anything interesting. When they got there, though, they were immediately amazed by the mind-blowing formations coming out of the cave walls. Some of them looked like spaghetti. They were even more surprised when they found a massive cache of animal remains, and they soon realized that the caves were actually ancient underwater graveyards. The bones the divers recovered were in surprisingly good condition. They looked so fresh, as if they were chicken bones on the table. The researchers were also lucky because the bones of individual animals were found very close to each other, unlike other sites where bones were separated by several feet. Researchers still needed to piece them together like a jigsaw puzzle. In the caves, the paleontologists collected the remains of several extinct animals, one of which was a gorilla-sized lemur. Paleontologists believe that some animals that once lived in the cave coexisted with humans who first arrived on the island in 500 BC. They're now studying how these animals became extinct and if humans in the past had anything to do with it. Number 3. Secret world of hydrothermal vents. It is a searing hot body of water where worms, snails, anemones, and bacteria live. Researchers recently found a new hydrothermal vent in the Gulf of California, and there they discovered at least 6 potentially new species no one has ever seen before. Hydrothermal vents are fissures on the seafloor where water seeps through and flows near the Earth's hot mantle. Because of the heat, the water quickly shoots back toward the surface. During the expedition, the team consisting of scientists from the US and Mexico was on board a research vessel called the Falcor. They deployed an ROV named Sebastian to explore the hostile environment. The newly discovered vent was found in the Pescadero Basin. Unlike most hydrothermal vents that spew out black water, the vent they found spewed out a clear shimmering fluid as hot as 549 degrees Fahrenheit. It also had ledge-like structures called flanges and enormous mounds formed where flanges collapse under their own weight. The environment near the vent isn't a suitable habitat for many creatures. However, life is still pretty diverse in this unusual ecosystem. Researchers found blue scale worms, crustaceans, mollusks, roundworms, bristleworms, and arrow worms. Number 2. Finding an upside-down anglerfish. Recently, researchers from China and New Zealand explored one of the deepest trenches on Earth while aboard a submarine. The Kermadec Trench is found off the northern coast of New Zealand. It spans more than 620 miles in length, and its deepest point is 32,962 feet below sea level. This point is called the Shoal Deep, and it's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. The expedition was an exhilarating and surreal experience for many of those who were around the submarine. They went deeper and deeper into the water with the sunlight slowly disappearing until they went so far down that they could already see the ocean floor. Would you want to go aboard a submarine and explore the ocean's depths, or would the dark, dangerous, and lonely waters be too scary for you? While deep underwater, the crew saw many different creatures such as sea cucumbers, a sea pen, the faceless fish, an octopus, and many others. One of the most notable animals they saw was this strange-looking upside-down anglerfish. The anglerfish is one horrifying deep-sea creature. It just has a creepy vibe to it, especially when you think about how it lures its victims to its light in order to eat them in one bite. However, this particular scarlet anglerfish was even creepier because it was swimming upside down. It's unclear why the mysterious creature wanted to swim this way, but it sure looks frightening. Now it's time for today's topic. This drone made a terrifying discovery after spotting this in the middle of a lake. The drone captured what looked like an overturned car submerged in the water. The boy who saw this was shocked, and he quickly informed the police about his eerie discovery. The dive team went to the lake a few days later, and the boy guided them to where the car was. When the divers approached the vehicle, they were shocked to see that a body was still inside. They took note of the license plate, and it turned out that the car belonged to a woman who had been missing for the past 27 years. The woman was supposed to go to a wedding on the day she went missing, but she never arrived at the event, and nobody ever heard from her after that. It was labeled a cold case until the boy accidentally found the woman's car more than 2 decades later. What do you think caused the woman and her car to end up in the lake? Do you think it was all a tragic accident? As always, comment down below and let us know your opinion about what we've just shown on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 1. Fish wearing a see-through helmet. This odd-looking fish is equipped with a translucent head shield which protects its face from danger, but still allows it to see its surroundings. This creature is called the barrel-eye fish, and it was recently captured in Monterey Bay off California at a depth of about 2,132 feet, which is within the ocean's twilight zone. The barrel-eye fish's eyes, which can be clearly seen through its head shield, shine bright green in the light of the ROV. They can move to look straight up towards the top of their head and back down again to look straight ahead. At the moment, scientists are not sure what the gelatinous helmet is for, but they suspect that it could protect against siphonophore stings. Barrel-eye fish compete with these jellyfish-like organisms for food, and it's possible that the barrel-eye fish snatches food from their tentacles from time to time. Although taking a barrel-eye fish captive for research can help scientists learn more about the species, they have no intention of doing so since they do not have an aquarium suitable for it to live in. They can only observe the fish deep underwater in its natural habitat, although this is a challenge because of how infrequently it's sighted. The deepest parts of the ocean are harsh and frightening. Do you enjoy exploring what lies beneath the water's surface? What's the scariest thing you've ever found underwater? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to check out our other videos popping up on the screen right now. See you in the next video.